Have you ever stood at the edge of a body of water? So still, so perfectly placid, that it felt like you were looking into another world? A world of silent, dark beauty. A world that watches you back. Our story begins with a man who sought such beauty, but found something else waiting for him in the deep. Something ancient and hungry. Aaron's world was framed in rectangles. The sharp, clean rectangle of his camera's viewfinder, the digital glow of the screen on its back, and the final perfect print he would hang on a gallery wall. He was a photographer, you see, and not just any photographer. He was a hunter of forgotten places, a chaser of the light that falls on landscapes no one has bothered to look at for 100 years. His latest obsession was a place that existed more in whispers than on any map. A village called Nijampur, the Silent Village. It was nestled deep in the hinterlands, cradled by rolling hills and guarded by a dense ancient forest. And at its heart lay a lake, the Jheel. The bus ride was an ordeal. Slightly humorous, weary tone. Hours of rattling bones and the smell of diesel fumes, followed by a long trek on a dirt path that seemed to be actively trying to reclaim itself by the jungle. But when Aaron finally crested the last hill and saw Nijampur below, he forgot the journey. Tone shifts to awe. The village was a scattering of earthen huts with thatched roofs, from which lazy plumes of smoke curled into the late afternoon sky. It was quiet, profoundly so. No shouting, no blaring radios, just the rustle of leaves and the distant lowing of a cow. And the lake, oh, the lake was breathtaking. It was a perfect mirror of the bruised twilight sky, its surface broken only by clusters of tall, slender reeds that swayed in a breeze he couldn't feel. It was everything he had hoped for, a place untouched, a place that held a secret light. He found lodging easily enough, in a small guest house run by an elderly man with a face like a weathered map. Harish Kaka. The old man's eyes, cloudy with age, seemed to hold the same stillness as the lake. "Just for photography? You've come all this way, son?" Harish Kaka asked, his voice raspy, like dry leaves skittering across stone. Aaron smiled, hoisting his heavy equipment bag. "That's the job, Kaka. I hear the sunsets here are magical." Harish Kaka nodded slowly, very slowly. He didn't look at Aaron, but stared out the open doorway towards the water. "Magical, yes," he murmured. "The Jheel has its own kind of magic. But it is a jealous magic. It doesn't like to be captured. It likes to capture." Aaron chuckled, dismissing it as the rambling of old age. "Don't worry. I'll be careful." The old man's eyes finally shifted to meet Aaron's. They were dark and deep. "Be careful of the dusk, son, when the sun bleeds into the water. That's her time. The Jheel-Kanya, the lake maiden. She gets lonely then. She sings her song for company." Aaron's smile tightened. He'd heard folk tales like this in a dozen villages. Every forgotten pond had its ghost, every ancient tree its spirit. It was local color, nothing more. "A beautiful ghost for a beautiful lake," Aaron said lightly. "Maybe I'll get a picture of her." Harish Kaka did not smile back. He simply turned away, muttering something that sounded like, "She always gets her picture." The sun began its descent, and Aaron felt the familiar thrill, the photographer's chase. He grabbed his camera and tripod and headed straight for the water's edge. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else. Something faintly, sweetly floral, like night-blooming jasmine. He found the perfect spot, a small, natural clearing where the bank dipped low, the water lapping just inches from his feet. The reeds stood like silent sentinels to his right, their feathery tops glowing gold in the dying light. He set up his tripod, his movements practiced and precise. He looked through the viewfinder, and the world fell away. It was just him, the light and the landscape. The sky was a masterpiece of orange and pink and a deep velvety purple. The lake held it all, perfectly. Click, shutter. The first shot was perfect. He adjusted his settings, zooming in slightly on the reeds. He wanted to capture the way the light filtered through them. That's when he heard it. It was a melody, faint, So faint he thought it was the wind in the reeds. But it wasn't. It was a voice, a woman's voice, humming a tune that was impossibly sad and yet unbearably sweet. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, from the water, from the air, from inside his own head, inside his... A shiver, cold and sharp, traced its way down his spine. He lowered the camera. The humming continued. He scanned the shoreline, his heart suddenly beating a little faster. Nothing, just the reeds, swaying, though the air was now perfectly still. He raised the camera again, his professional instincts overriding the primal urge to run. He focused on the thickest part of the reed bed. The humming grew a little louder. It was hypnotic. He felt a strange sense of peace wash over him, a gentle, welcoming calm. All his worries, the gallery deadlines, the city noise, they all just melted away. There was only the lake and the song. And then he saw her. It was for less than a second, a flicker, a trick of the light, a woman's form standing amongst the reeds. Her silhouette was tall and slender, her head tilted as if listening. He couldn't see her face, but he had the distinct impression of immense beauty and immense sorrow. His finger, acting on its own, pressed the shutter button. Click, and she was gone. The spell was broken. The humming had stopped. The air was suddenly cold again, biting, this time. The sun had vanished, leaving only a faint, ghostly purple on the horizon. Aaron stood frozen, his camera feeling impossibly heavy in his hands. Had he imagined it? A waking dream, brought on by fatigue and the old man's stories? He packed his gear with trembling, clumsy fingers, his eyes darting towards the reeds every few seconds. He didn't turn his back on the lake, not once. He walked away backwards until the tree line swallowed him, and only then did he turn and hurry back towards the flickering lights of the village, the path seeming much darker than before. Back in his small, sparse room, he locked the door. A foolish gesture, he knew, but it made him feel better. With his heart still thudding against his ribs, he plugged his camera's memory card into his laptop. He had to know. He clicked through the photos. The sunset had taken earlier was stunning, technically perfect, but he barely saw them. He skipped to the last one, the one he took, when he saw her. The image loaded. It was blurry. The low light and his own shock had seen to that. But it was there, unmistakable. The reeds dark and sharp in the foreground, and behind them, a pull, a deep, undeniable longing to go back to the water's edge and find the girl who sang in the reeds. Harish Kaka's words echoed in his mind. She always gets her picture.